Hello amazing people, welcome back to a new video guys. How you all doing? I hope you're all doing great today. Today's video I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful alternate crop top. Super easy guys. If you want to see how to achieve this, then stick around with me to the end of this video as we go through this together. So here is the African print I'm going to be using today, and I have my working tools here, my scissors, measuring tape, ruler, chalk, pins. Yes guys, so I'll go ahead now and lay my fabric on the table. So I'm going to be making my fold in such a way that I can get the width that I'll be working with, and in order to get this, I'll use the biggest part of the measurement here, which is the bust measurement of 34 divided by 4, that's 8.5. You can add extra 3 to 5 inches, okay? So I added 3 inches, okay, which made it 11.5. So I went ahead to cut out my working piece. So I'm going to also fold this fabric into two so I can, cut out for both the front piece and the back piece. And I'm folding this along the length of the crop top, which is 18 plus extra 1 inches of allowance, that is 19. So here I have it folded. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to quickly demonstrate this using a paper so that you can understand this better. So there are two methods you can actually use to achieve this. So the first method is what I'm demonstrating right now. You just have a sketch of what the basic bodice looks like, but in this case it's just from the shoulder all the way to the half length cut. So you can see me marking out my bust to waist, and here I'm creating an armhole curve. So this is what it looks like, right? So for this one, I'm going to mark a neck width of 3 inches. So assuming this is the front piece, and the neck depth of 3 inches, I went ahead to create my curve for my what the neckline looks like. Then if I'm doing for the back piece, it's going to be the same neck width of 3 inches, but a neck depth of 1 inch. So you can see the two necklines are different. It's 3 inches in depth for the front, and 1 inches in depth for the back piece. So you can see connecting it from that neck width all the way to the armhole. So this is what this actually looks like. So this is just the fact that we're going to be cutting out the two piece differently. But for the second method, is going to be a entirely different one. This one is just straightforward. I can cut out both the front and the back piece together because they're going to be having the same neck width and neck depth. So I also went ahead to create out what my basic bodice also looks like from the shoulder to the half length cut. But this one you don't have to put in the slope and the armhole curve and all that. So you can see I'm just using a neck width of 2.5 and a neck depth of 2.5. So I'll go ahead and connect these two, creating a more like a square shape here. So you can see that's it just for the neckline here. I'm not putting any curve or anything. Then I'll come to that chest line here and impute what my bust measurement and my waistline is. So you see I've created my lines there. So I'll connect it from that point we've created in between the neck width and neck depth. I'm just connecting the word to the chest line, and guys, that is it for this one. That is it for this one. So this method is quite straightforward, and this is what I'm going to be using here today. So you can see this. So go ahead and call this out. If you open this up, you can see that the two methods are actually different, especially if you look at the shape. Don't forget the second one you're going to be having both the front and back piece together, but the first one you have to be separated because the neck lines are different. So I'll just go ahead now and impute what I did for the second method. So in this case I'm using a chest line of 8 inches, and of course the length of the crop top here. Okay, so I'm going to be using the neck width of 2 inches here. So I wanted to use 2 inches for just to see how the wideness is going to look for me. Then I'll know if I can increase it to 2.5 or thereabout. Okay, so you can see me creating the same neck width on both sides, neck width and neck depth. Then I'll go ahead and impute the measurement for my on the bust line. Yeah, there on the chest line, input the bust measurement, which is 34. So the 34 divided by 4, I have 8.5. Okay, 8.5. So I'll go ahead and mark an extra seam allowance of 2 inches here. Then for the waistline, that was 28, and divided by 4, that's 7. I also go ahead to mark out extra 2 inches of what seam allowance there. And so what I do is to connect the bust to the waist. Okay, just exactly what you have on the second method I demonstrated. So you can see from that point of intersection between the neckline and the neck depth at the neck width, I've just take it all the way to the bust line. So you can see this, guys, and that is it, guys. So it's as easy as that. Yeah, so I'll also go ahead and cut out the zipper allowance part as well. Yeah, so this is quite straightforward. You can agree with me. Yeah. So once I was done with this, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to create my dart line. So I just did on that unfold part of the front piece, I imputed the bust span measurement. The bust span is the nipple to nipple distance. So in this case it's 7 divided by 2, 3.5. So I'll go ahead and add 0.5 inches for. So I just notched that part just to show me where I'm going to be fixing in my dart. So the first thing I'm going to do afterwards, after I'm done with this cutting, you can see how it looks. So I'm going to take the back piece, one piece of the back piece. I'm going to be joining the sides now. So I'll just demonstrate this using a pin. So I'm going to take my pin and join it by the sides of each of this front piece. Okay, yeah, so once I was done with that, we'll go ahead and make a stitch. Then the next thing I'm going to do now is to fix in the dart line. Yeah, so the dart line for the front piece is just a little bit different from that of the back. So for the front, I'm going to be marking out 6 inches. So 6 inches from the top length there, that the bottom of the top there all the way upward. I'm marking out 6 inches. Then you know how we create our dart. You just mark ½ inches on both sides and connect it so you can see how this looks. So this is how I'm going to be sewing up my dart. Okay, yeah. But for the back piece, it's just similar thing, but it's just going to be 9 inches in this case. So 9 inches from the bottom of the top upward. I'm marking out 9 inches. So the same thing. So I'm just going to sew this my dart and also, you know, sew the sides. Then of course you see what it looks like. So here we have it, guys. You can see I've joined the sides and also I've created my dart. Yeah. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to attach the flare I have around my armhole then. Okay, so now we have the front and the back piece joined together, right? So I'm taking my measurement on that armhole from one point to the end point of the back piece. So I have about 22 inches here. So I'll go ahead and also measure what I have on the other side, and obviously I have the same measurement of 22 inches. So what I'm going to do now is to cut out my flare. So I'm going to be using doing a 180-degree flare cut. Okay, that's a half circle flare cut. So I'm going to divide that 22 by 3.142, and that gave me approximately 7. So that's what I'm going to work with. So you can see me now, I'm making my triangular fold. Okay, so if you're going to cut out a circle, if you want it to be in a circle, you can actually do that, but I am doing a half circle cut because I'm trying to manage my fabric as well. So from the tip of the triangle, you can see me marking out 7 inches there, which is represent the circumference, right? So of course, after marking that curve, I needed to know what I'm going to get. So measuring it, I have about 6 inches. So you know, because it's folded into 4, so if I say 6 times 4, that's about 24, right? Yeah. So remember, I'm cutting out for both front and the back, the armhole cut there. Yeah, so I needed to be sure that I have an excess so that it will be able to run through that zipper allowance. So I also went ahead to mark out the length of the flare cut, which is about 5 inches here. So I actually wanted 4 inches, but you know, we're going to be hemming the lower part of the flare plus joining it to the body of the top, so I just made it about 5 inches there. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. So here I'm just cutting out for just one of the armhole, right? Yeah, so I need to cut out for another piece, so I went ahead to lay it, you know, on the remaining piece there as well, so that I can cut out for the second piece for the armhole, of course. So because of the way I'm cutting this, obviously I'm splitting that one part open. So one of this flare cut is going to be splitted into 2. So what I'm going to do is to join it in between so that I can have it as a single piece. So you can see how the first one looks like. You can see this one is separated. So I'm going to just joining it. Okay, yeah. So the next thing, of course, to do now will be to start sewing up the flare to the armhole cut there. So I'm going to be sewing, making sure that the right side is facing the wrong side of the top. You can see right side facing the wrong side. So I'll go ahead and use my pin, to hold it all through. Of course, I'm just making sure that I have where my wrong side is, because this fabric, both the front and the back piece, they look almost alike. Yeah. So by the time you sew it from the inside of the top, then you'll be able to what flip it what to the right side. Yeah, so this is what I'm going to do for the two armholes. So if you look at what we have in the thumbnail, you also see that the flare cord is not totally of an equal length. It's like an high-low flare cord. So you can see how this looks like after, you know, joining it, moving it to the front. See, this is where it's going to look like. Yeah, so for the second piece, I'm going to demonstrate the high-low cord. Okay, yeah, after joining that separated flare cord, I'm just trying to join it together so that I can have it what as a single piece, because it's splitted into two. So you can see how this looks like. Yeah, so I'll go ahead now and make my high-low effect. So just measure what you have at one end, then take away about 2 or 3 inches at the other end. I'm just taking about 2 inches away. You can see this. I'm going to take my curve. So you can see how I am creating my curve from that end point to the other. So this way I'm automatically creating my armhole curve. So I'll go ahead and cut this out so you can see how this looks like. So it's very, very easy as that. So don't forget, when you're before sewing this the flare to the armhole, it's very important to make sure that you seal up the edges. That's the hem of the flare. Okay, it makes it easier before sewing it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to quickly pin all this down and go ahead my machine and finish this up, and of course we'll see what this looks like. Yeah, so once I was done, you can see this is looking all beautiful already. You can see this, I'm done with the dart of course and the sides, and you can see the hem of the top. You can also see that I did something. I top stitch at that armhole part. Okay, I had to stop stitch at the edge so that you don't have that flare moving around. And there are some points where I actually just have to put a little bit of hem gun in between, just to make sure that the flare have it in place. And so you see what the back piece looks like. So for the moment I just pinned it down because we're going to be fixing a zipper there, right? Yeah, so yeah, the next thing I'm going to do now is to fixing the collar. So remember, this is actually separated into two. You can see there's a front and also there's a back. The back is where we're going to have the zipper space here. So what I'm going to do is to use my tape. Just use your tape and place it around your neck, the fullest part of your neck, not the tiniest part of your neck, the fullest part of your neck, and get what this neck circumference is. And in this case, it's 16 inches. Then added about 3 inches for the zipper allowance, 19 inches. So I just approximated it to 20 inches. So what I will do now, still having my triangular fold here, I'm going to take from my tip of my triangle there, I'm going to mark out about 5 inches. So how did I get that? I just did that 20 inches. I divided it by 4 because I have my fabric folded into 4. So I divided it by 4, so I have 5 inches. So I'm just going to mark out 5 inches as the circumference of this flare cord. So once I did that, it's also important to always check out what you have on the cuff, just to be sure that it's going to give you what you want. So I think I have about 5 inches there, because 5 times 4 is supposed to be 20 inches. So I went ahead a little bit lower on that cuff part just to have a little bit of excess. Remember, it's going to have a zipper allowance, so I rather have excesses to trim out and instead of running into problem. Okay, yeah, so that's why I created that cover. Then the next thing, of course, I fixed in the width of the collar. So I'm using 3 inches here. Okay, so because I'm going to be turning out this collar with a lining, so both the up and the lower part and the upper part. So at the end of the day, my collar should be around, say, 2 inches or less than, say, 1 point something inches for my collar. Yeah, so you can see me creating my collar here, and I just went ahead to cut this out. So like I said, the collar is going to have I'm going to be turning it with a lining. So I'm also going to use this same fabric for the lining. So you can see me making an extra cutout there for, I'm going to be using as the lining. So because of the way I'm also cutting out this flare, I'll definitely going to have it's going to be splitted into 2. So of course I'll go ahead and also join it. So I just use this part that I joined, I just use that one to be my lining. Okay, so what I'll do now is you can see me placing the two collars right side facing each other. So I'm going to sew on the neckline there, the upper part, and also on the lower part. So on the lower part, there's something I did. I'm going to leave about, say, 4 to 4.5 inches in between. You can see me marking that front part. So the front part was about 4.5 inches, so I have to leave that side open. So you can see how the collar looks. Once I'm done giving it a very good press, you can see this is looking all beautiful. Then the first thing I'm going to do now is to mark out the center point, okay? Having in mind that the upper part is actually where you are going to fit into the neckline. Remember we said is a neckline circumference of 16, right? Plus the zipper allowance. So just to confirm that, I placed my tape around there just to be sure that I have what my neck measurement is going to give me, plus the zipper allowance. Remember, we're still going to fix this, through that zipper allowance. So I just cut out a little bit of excesses I have there. So of course, after that, I'll just mark the center points. Now, taking note that that upper curve is the one that is going to fit into the neckline, right? While the lower curve is the part we are going to be sewing on the dress, okay? Yeah. So I just made a midpoint on that collar. I'm also making a midpoint on the front piece now. You can see me making a midpoint there. So that part I said I actually left open. So you can see what I'm doing now. I'm tucking it in, okay? I don't want to sew it so that I don't see the edges. I just have to tuck it in. It's better this way. It makes it more neater. So I'm just tucking it in, making sure that the center point on that collar I marked is also matching upward with the center point of the front top there, okay? So I'm just holding it down with a pin. After that, I'm going to be of course sewing this, so you can see how this looks like once you're done stitching this. You can see how it's going to look like. Yeah, so the next thing of course will be to the two ends. Now we have I'm going to take one end and take it all the way to the back, okay, the zipper part, okay? So I'm also going to do the same thing, which means I have to still open up that side so I can also tuck in that part. But I just held it with a pin first so that you see how it looks like. Then I also took the other edge there, and you can see me taking it to the other side of the zipper allowance. Okay guys, that is it guys. So once you're done, you see how this look. You can see this is looking all beautiful already, right? Yeah, so the next and the final thing to do now will be to just attach the zipper. Just go ahead and attach the zipper at the zipper part, and this top is ready. That is it guys on how to make this beautiful alternate crop top guys. Super easy guys. We have come to the end of today's tutorial. Thank you so much guys for watching. If you find this helpful, please do not forget to like, share, and if you've not subscribed to my channel, please guys don't forget to also do that as well. Thank you so much guys. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you once again for making me reach 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys a whole lot. I can't stop thanking you guys. Thank you a million. Thank you to you all. So till I see you on the next video guys, have a beautiful day.